All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast, the live edition. And so far, we seem to be doing all right. We'll see how this goes. This is episode 99, and you got myself, Ainsley Bowden. You got Dan Rodriguez, who is going by a different name today.
Right.
And joining us,
my quarantine fat.
And joining us for the first time is Archimedes, who I think many of our followers know, all the way from Germany. So good evening, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, man. Yeah, super excited about it. So first thing I wanted to just mention before we get to kind of your gaming history and whatnot, Archimedes, is just wanted to give a big shout out to everyone who's been watching. As I said on Twitter, if you follow, we're going live this week. Next week we have our episode 100. We'll be live again. We'll let you know what time that's going to be. And also wanted to give a quick thank you to everyone last week who kind of jumped in and checked out the Season Gaming merchandise store that we're doing with Special Effect and Able Gamers. Just anyone who ordered something, just big thank you for that. So, and I spoke to Special Effect again this week, and they're just kind of overjoyed at the idea of what we're doing. Like we said, we're not donating millions of dollars by any means, but just the concept and what we're trying to do has been really appreciated. So thank you again. So, Archimedes, man, let's talk a little bit about your gaming history. I know you and I have chatted quite a bit, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you. I think we were just prior to going live talking about some of the hashtag Twitter guys that can kind of make it a bad experience, at times with, just the ridiculous, I even hate to use the word, right, but fanboyism and all that stuff. But it's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I love
Likewise.
kind of your posts, and you're just balanced, just a good guy that's into gaming. So first of all, let's start with where people can find you. I know you're also doing videos. By the way, I watched your Doom Eternal review yesterday. It's really well done. Great production value, man. I think it's great. So I know you're a new channel getting out there. So if you're listening, Archimedes, you haven't subbed to his channel yet, check it out. It's good stuff. So sub up. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to your gaming history. So how far do you go back? Are you a seasoned gamer, or am I going to have to kick you off the show before we even really get going here?
So when do I start to count as a seasoned gamer? I started about 30 years ago. Gaming, so
all right, okay.
does that count? I started with the OG Game Boy. That was my first gaming system, and on the Atari of my dad. Yeah, that was also something I used to play a lot on. And from there, I was mainly all the time a console guy. I basically owned every Nintendo console ever since, every handheld, every main console. I owned basically all PlayStations except the Vita. I don't know why.
You missed out, man. The Vita's a great system.
I know. I saw at some point I have to get one, and I've been on the Xbox as well. Well, for basically more or less from the beginning. Yeah, when the Xbox came out, I lived in a shared apartment, and my roommate bought one, and ever since my love for Halo started.
There we go. Thank you. It's 2-1, Dan.
Yeah, and I've been ever since a multi-plat guy. That's basically a short summary of my gaming history.
No, that's great. That's great. So original Game Boy, man. I have memories of just walking around playing Tetris and trying to find a light source, of course, because that screen was damn near impossible to see unless you had a light shining directly on it.
Oh, yeah.
So fantastic. So, obviously out in Germany, like we already said, and I know you've talked before, but before we kind of get into the topics here, I just wanted to bring up your perspective on kind of the global market, at least where you are in Europe, as it relates to kind of Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, because I know, a lot of the podcasts that we all kind of tune into and watch are very US based, and the market here in the US is very different, even though we all know how well PlayStation 4 did over the course of the generation. Xbox One is still very close to it in the US, not globally. But it's a very different story for a lot of countries worldwide. So from your perspective, what's that look like in terms of market share for the big three out in Germany?
Oh, it's significantly different than in the US. We have I don't have actual numbers for the Nintendo systems. I know that the PlayStation outsold the Xbox 5-1
Whew. Wow.
here in Germany, and that the Switch is doing actually very well in Germany. I am not sure what that means in absolute numbers, but I know that it is a successful system over here too. But the Xbox is, I always say, it's literally not existing, and the main reason for that is in my opinion, the marketing of Microsoft. It is really not existing over here in Europe. We have basically no advertisement at all for the Xbox brand, and that's basically or is what I guess is why the Xbox is so, or the PlayStation outsold the Xbox in with that high rate, 5-1.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Dan, I don't want to steer all the conversation here, so please jump in and
No, you're
interrupt me.
I'm like listening to this stuff.
Yeah.
So shout out to everyone in chat, guys. I know, like I said, first live show. I'm new at this, so I'm trying to look back and forth at the same time here. So Dizzy, Diego, Matt, what's going on, guys? Alari, thanks for tuning in. All right, so let's get into. We'll start with our listener question. I didn't really do a poll this week for Season Gaming per se, but we did get a listener question from a Sean M. And it's very, as questions usually are, right? It's very relatable to what we're going to talk about. So it'll take us right into the Series X and PlayStation 5 conversation. And he asked, given the state of the world right now, do we personally think that we'll see the Series X and PlayStation 5 get delayed until 2021? And I know, many of us are aware. I kind of wanted to touch on this from a perspective of the interviews that Phil Spencer did this week with Ryan McCaffrey over at IGN. And, that question was asked of him as well. And, his perspective is they're still shooting for this year. That is still the plan. But I think you could hear it in his voice and many other companies' voices that, there may have to be some contingency. So, Dan, I'll go to you. Personally, just your gut feeling. Do you think we're going to see both consoles still launch this year?
God, I hope so. But I'm not holding my breath. They say, over in China, things are kind of getting back on track. I mean, I saw that interview with, when I watched it, that Ryan McCaffrey did, and he said that, it looks like the production anyway back in China is kind of getting back on track now. So they still hope to hit that. But you just don't know. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If we have another spike or whatever it is, it just, with all the games being delayed.
Yeah, we'll get to that for sure.
Right. It kind of worries me a little bit. I'm hopeful. I'm hopefully optimistic, I guess. But we'll kind of see. I mean, I would say yes, it's gonna come out, but then again, who the hell knows? I mean, it's a crazy time.
All right. So your opinion is a yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna hit it. If maybe it gets delayed a month, but that's about it.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
Okay. What do you think, Archimedes?
Yeah. Well, I'm not 100% sure. I don't think
anyone is, right?
Yeah. We all don't know how this thing will develop. Yeah. And I mean, depending on how long it takes till we get more or less to a normal working state, they will come out or not. I think Phil addressed one thing very clearly in the two interviews he gave to IGN, that it is actually a software issue. Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether the hardware is ready or not. If they don't have the operating systems ready, if they don't have any games or the online infrastructure up and ready, then it definitely will get delayed. I'm of course not hoping for it, but at this point, we talked about it. I also work in a huge company, and the big problem for most big companies right now is the huge amount of data that they have to transfer into the homes of people. Yeah. And think about how big the assets of a huge game developer, for instance, are, and bring that kind of data into the homes of people, and having that kind of data always synced with a huge team. This is a huge, huge challenge, and I'm not sure if that will mean that we will get a delay. It might not be the hardware, it might be the software.
No, that's a good point, and that's one of the quotes from Phil that I found most interesting, right? Because you're right. He said something to the effect of it's like a three-tiered thing, right? It was software, platform, and something else, services maybe. But yeah, I mean, if you think about everything that has to be ready for a launch, you've got, as you just said, you got to have the games ready. You have to have the OS has to be ready because it's likely going to be a new OS on the Series X. You've got to have all the infrastructure. So trying to do any of that remotely, as you said, I too work for a big company, and just any kind of technology planning that's going on remotely right now is a challenge. And I think every company across the world is seeing that for the most part. So, but anyway, so let's kind of continue on his comments, because I know it was a big topic this week, and everyone's really excited for the Series X, of course, and next gen to begin. And he made a couple quotes here that are pretty notable. So gonna just get your guys' feelings on these. So you already kind of touched on one. Archimedes around game development is continuing, but it has challenges being remote, of course. He also said that he doesn't see holding up the Series X if a single game, a la Halo, of course, is what Ryan was referring to. But he does want to ensure, like we just said, system, services, platform are all in sync. So it's kind of an interesting thought to think that even if the Series X is ready to launch, and the OS is there, infrastructure is there, Game Pass, xCloud, what have you, Halo may not be ready. And so that would be kind of a different scenario to see the system launches fall without Halo, which of course would make me shed a tear. Though I think I'd still love to have the system in my hands with better third-party support and other games, rather than have both the system and Halo get delayed to 2021.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all the games we have right now will be playable on the Xbox anyway. Right. So I'll take that, take the new system and play my backlog in better quality, for sure. Yeah. But then you wanted to mention something.
Yeah, no, I was to say, I mean, I've never seen a system launch without at least one big title game, right? And it'd be so weird to just like, yeah, here's your new hardware. This will come out later. I mean, I think that'll hurt a little bit because people are going to get these systems to play these next gen games, right? So they're, you can play your backlog and stuff at higher quality, which is fantastic. But at the same time, I want some new stuff. And, like I said before, with all these delays, I just don't know if we're going to get anything monumental. I know we won't get any big announcements. I don't know what they're still doing for E3. I just with everything so uncertain, it'd be hard to come out and say this is what we're doing and this is what's going to be there at this time. The number of the days and stuff are just so out there right now. You just don't know what's going to happen. So I'm super nervous. It's because I've been playing a lot of backlog games, which is great. But I'm kind of finding myself in like a certain zone and just like, there it is. I'm just going to stick with this. I need something new.
Yeah.
It's just Doom.
Well, and by it's only April, right? By November, if we're still on lockdown, everyone's going to be really itching for something new.
Right. And that's huge right now. I mean, these kind of things, you see all these movies and stuff getting delayed. Some of them are releasing digitally. You see like Disney did a couple of them, and I think Bloodshot came out, and some other horror movies that I'll never watch. But, I want, but I understand where they're coming from too. I mean, that's got to be super difficult, like you said, Archimedes, about the software and just working separately and stuff like that. I don't even know how that works. I'm not in that kind of field, so it's just I want something. It's just, we need something. We need some good news from our hobby right now. I think a lot of people do, and we're really not getting that. We're just getting garbage.
It's really interesting because we're at a point where more people are gaming than ever,
right?
And more people have more time to game than ever.
Yep.
But from a development side, it's the opposite. Everything's coming to a crawl and slowing down. So I think there's going to be a weird conflict there. So his obviously his most controversial statement, and sites kind of posted this up. Not controversial, I should say, but just flame igniting, was, Ryan pretty much asked him directly after Cerny's presentation on the PS5, how did you feel about the Series X and the choices that the development team has made on the Xbox side? And Phil pretty clearly said we felt even better.
Yeah.
And so, that's probably about as controversial as Phil gets. He doesn't really make, statements to say anything too directly, but it's pretty clear that, and we've been talking about this for a while, but it's pretty clear that he and the Xbox teams are feeling really confident about the hardware and the direction that Xbox is heading going into next gen. And I think we've all talked about that. We've seen the difference in Xbox, but it's definitely interesting to see and to hear it directly from Phil.
Yeah, well, it's like you're in high school and, some guy's like, hey, I heard that guy's got a huge wong. And that guy never says anything, right? He just never says anything, just kind of walks around. Now he's come out and said, yeah, I got a huge dick. That's basically what he said. That's basically what this whole conversation is. Like, he didn't even try to hide it. He's just like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, it's true. It's like 10 inches or 13 teraflops, whatever you want to call it. That's the equivalent of what he's done. And
but it's got to be hard to contain because Sony is not they've always been when they're ahead, right, they're a pretty cocky company. They just are. They have no problem flaunting that. Yeah. And to think that Xbox got beat up this generation, and and they started working on the Series X in 2016, right? This is a 4-year project for them, laying the foundation for everything. So to see all that come to fruition and be months from launch, and knowing that the decisions you made ended with a what presumably looks to be a better hardware result has to be gratifying, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
He's swinging.
I mean, it must have been a real challenge to get the spirit of the team up again after that 2013 launch. It must have been really, really difficult in that leadership role, and ever since he has laid out a very good plan, and now this plan is unrolling, and you see that confidence in how they market the Series X right now. And of course, he must feel so good at the moment, having the lead also in mindshare in the media side. It's on the media sides, yeah. And for that reason, I absolutely understand his comment that he must have felt good after that presentation from Sony.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, so we'll move on from that. But if you haven't checked out those interviews, I'm sure most of you listening have. But they're good interviews, and there's some good information. Phil's just one of those guys. Listen to a lot of executives speak, and I'm sure Archimedes, you've been in this boat too with the company you work at. But it's not a learned trait to be able to be genuine, knowledgeable, and down to earth. Like Phil is. That's not something that you can teach. It's an inherent behavior, and it's just good to see the head of one of these gaming divisions be that way. Because someone else said it this week on Twitter, but it's like, when do we ever see Doug Bowser for Nintendo or anyone on the Sony side come out and just speak to their fans like this? They simply don't do it.
Yeah.
So
it's always been something from Microsoft. A lot of their executives are very active on social media with the fan base. It's not just Phil; it is Aaron Greenberg and it's Larry, and so on. There are a lot of executives that are very close to their fan base.
Yeah, and I think that's a conscious decision, right? It's part of regaining fan trust over years, which takes years. Yeah. So, there's not a whole lot to cover on this, but if you missed it for any reason, Eurogamer / Digital Foundry guys did an even deeper dive on the PlayStation 5. They basically took what Mark Cerny presented and really got into the tech details about it. So I kind of liked reading it, but man, it's definitely a deep dive. So if you want to get into more of the detail, check that out. There wasn't anything new, so there's really nothing for us to discuss about it. But I just wanted to shout it out because it's really all we have for the PlayStation 5 right now.
All right, totally.
You what?
Also, if I would have seen it, I would have been confused.
Yeah, it's. I sent the engineer, Katie, who'll be joining us next week. I sent it to him immediately. I was like, "You're gonna love this," because he just loves that stuff. So, that was strange. Right as I said, KD, he joined the chat. So what's up, Carl? Welcome. And he's joining us from England, so not too far from you there, Archimedes.
No.
All right. Let's jump into the news. We were talking about game delays, and obviously the biggest news this week, which really wasn't a huge surprise, but very disappointing news for fans, is that last. What?
How was it not a huge surprise? I was
with everything going on.
Lord, I was like, what is happening?
Well, I just figured that with everything going on in the world, I'm not going to be surprised of any delays on anything that's getting sent out. But although we were close, right? We're only 6 weeks from launch. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't even set the title yet, but everyone knows I'm talking about Last of Us 2. So it's been delayed indefinitely, and the reason seems to be, there's a lot of people talking about it, but the reason seems to be the game was pretty much ready to release. They said they were kind of in their final rounds of crushing bugs, but that simply from a distribution side, there's no way globally they would have been able to get all the copies out. And, they've got collector's editions that I'm waiting on and many other people. So not like, although Dan seemed to be surprised, but, I think we all agree this is hugely disappointing. This is one of my top 3 games of the year. And I, had really planned to play nothing else going into May with the anticipation that this game was coming and I could put my full focus on it. So, what do you guys think? You in the same boat as me? Pretty disappointing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's one of my most anticipated games this year. I'm still a little bit surprised, to be honest, because the game is basically done. Yeah, they said it. They should have went gold by now, and it's just because they can't get the physical copies out. And I was really thinking, would it really hurt the game so much to have a digital-only launch? I am not sure. I think they kind of use it as well to have a big launch title for the PS5 right now. They take that opportunity, say, okay, we have a good reason here now, and then just delay it, because they didn't delay it with a definite date. Yeah, they delayed it indefinitely, and this is what. Since they haven't announced the launch date for the PS5, I'm still thinking, okay, they took that opportunity, moved it out, and now they have a launch title for the PS5 ready. Of course, it will launch on the PS4 as well, but now they can advertise their new system with that big AAA banger. Yeah.
All right, so here's the deal. I was super disappointed in the Cyberpunk 2077 delay.
Mm-hmm.
That one,
when it went from May to September.
Yeah, that was just like a fist in the face. I'm gonna say face, but this one, everything was pointing to it being ready, and it sounds like it is ready. And so this 100% looks like we're not going to make enough money because of the physical sales.
Yeah,
there's 10% blame here on people like Ains, because they're stupid digital or physical guys. They can't just take the leap and just join the future of gaming.
Dude, I got to get Ellie's backpack. Leave me alone.
I mean, you can have that later. That's fine.
No, I would have been fine even being a physical guy. I would have still bought the collector's edition later and still paid. They might have, on people like me, made more money because I would have bought a digital copy to play it in the meantime.
They're stupid. And this is, it just drives me crazy that, with everything going on, this would have been one of those games where it was like, it would have killed, digitally, I think. I think they're really underselling what they could have done. I know a lot of people couldn't have got it. Stay off the internet for 6 months. I don't know what to tell you. Don't look, you can mute words on Twitter. You can mute words everywhere else. Just don't look it up. And let us play it. Because I needed this. This one hit me right in the sack. It was terrible, man. And I don't like the reasoning behind it. And the people that are saying, well, it's okay, because of the time and the development, it's done. It's basically done.
Yeah.
Right? And,
this is really something that bothers me as well. I know that they are sitting on the game ready. They have it ready. Yeah. And they're just withholding it.
I think so. Quick shout out, HR. What's up, man? Good to see you in. Sarko, Z Black Rider. Thanks, guys, for joining. It's awesome to see you in here. So I think pretty much we all in agreement here. Very disappointed. I'm kind of two minds. I think Dan, you nailed it, right? It's really about sales and them not meeting goals, and who knows we don't know what that looks like from a corporate perspective, right? They may have incentives they have to hit for launched, 2 weeks. There's all kinds of crap that goes into launching a game financially. But I also think that, Archimedes, you have a point, because we talked about that earlier this week too, and the possibility that if you think about if PlayStation 5 is still launching this fall and the hardware and services and everything else are ready to go, but we know game development's taking a hit, and we already knew, or I should say presume, there's good information saying that there's really no big first-party exclusive for PlayStation 5 at launch, given what all their studios are working on. It may make a lot of sense to take advantage and say coronavirus ruined our launch, and say, but PlayStation 5 will be out in November, and Last of Us 2 is launching with it. Because you've built up that hype at that point, and everyone's going to want to jump in, especially if they take the next 5 months and optimize Last of Us 2 for the PS5. So then you can say PS5, you can buy it on PS4, but the best version's on PS5. That seems to make a lot of sense to me. Maybe it's a conspiracy theorist right now, but I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, but that seems to make a lot of sense to me.
You know what? I think it's more, I can't buy my third yacht to quarantine on, pieces of garbage. I mean, it's not that.
Dan is feisty today, man. I got to think of some other questions to ask
you. I knew this one was going to get me. I was so looking forward to this, because now I kind of look down the line and I'm like, okay, Ghost of Tsushima, that's 100% probably going to get canceled, or not canceled, but delayed. And then there's such a big gap, that those two games, Cyberpunk and this one, were going to fill. And now I'm going to be playing 15 seasons of MLB and replaying. I mean, I hope the Division keeps releasing stuff, because at least that's keeping me going. Gee, Christmas. Nuts. I mean, just don't be greedy, and this is the worst time to do that, I think. When people need this kind of entertainment, that it's booming right now. You can't find a Switch. You guys sent me that thing on the chat that the Ring Fit
Adventure, man, go for $300.
That's insane. If you don't think that the gaming industry is booming right now, and you could take advantage of that, you're out of your damn mind, out of your mind. But I mean, I understand what they're saying. Like, we want to have everybody. You know what? Shut up and let us play the damn game. I'll pay double. I will pay you $200 or $100.
You're just complaining about being greedy. Don't yell that you'll pay double.
I'll pay double. That's what I'm saying. There's no greed here. I will buy that other guy's physical copy, and you can give it to him whenever it comes out. But I want to play my game right now. All right.
But first of all, sorry about if there was a boom in the mic for you guys listening. I literally just need my desk, which my mic is on. Nice. So sorry about that. What's up, Jordan? Good to see you here, man. So Z Black made a point, which I was just going to say as well, that is, in general too, first party, right? PlayStation, they have a bigger profit margin on digital sales anyway than they do on physical. So I think it's kind of a weird conversation when you think about everything you just said as well, Dan, is everyone's playing more games right now. We're definitely still going to be in some form of lockdown or quarantine next month. It may even be worse, which is sad to say, but it's just reality. There's no other big title. Nothing that even comes close to comparing to Last of Us 2 in May. And I mean, it would have just boomed out of, from a digital front. It does seem like a strange thing, which only makes me put my tinfoil hat back on and say it's all because they want the PS5 to come out of the gate stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Suck it.
All right. So we'll move on from Last of Us 2, but, so we also saw a couple other delays, right? Nothing major here, and not nearly like Last of Us 2. But we saw from Final Fantasy VII development team, they are going ahead with launch, which actually launches in 6 days now. But they actually said that, people who have physical copies in some regions will be delayed. It's just not going to get there in time. So they're going ahead.
They also send out a lot of physical copies out early.
They did?
They did because they were not sure if in a week or two when they had to send it actually, if they were able to. So they just send them out. And I know a lot of people on Twitter who are actually having their physical copies right now.
Yeah, I saw that as well, which is pretty cool. I think it's good of them to do that. And it goes back to the point of they're trying to get copies in the hands because everyone wants new games right now. It's the time. Lunch Bizzle, what's up, man? Thanks for joining. And but that's what we were just talking about is they don't want to exclude people that don't want to buy digital. And I get that. I guess maybe they're thinking if they did release it and say it's digital only for a bunch of regions globally, it feels like you're then excluding people, and that's just a bad look for the company. Maybe. I'm glad I don't have to make these decisions, right? I can just sit here and critique them, and we can joke about it. But there are people who have to literally make these decisions, and I'm sure that's not an easy thing to do. So. So Final Fantasy VII we were just talking about, but then Minecraft Dungeons was supposed to release in a couple weeks here in April, and that got pushed just a month, so that's coming out in late May now, May 26th to be exact. I'm really looking forward to that one. And then Wasteland 3 was supposed to be next month in May, and that got pushed to August 28th. So we are seeing, I know you're really looking forward to that one, right? So
yeah, right.
Yeah, we are seeing, it's already happening that delays are kind of coming, so. It's disappointing. But anything else you guys want to touch on there from a delay standpoint?
Stop it. I don't want to sound like super self-centered, and it's just
too late.
Crazy. Like especially with games that are pretty much done. And I understand maybe like Minecraft Dungeons, maybe a month. Okay, you push it back. I get that. You gotta kind of regroup. Totally understand, but like these huge delays, these indefinite delays, and with your tinfoil hat conspiracy theory, you're probably right on. It's all about money. At this point,
it's always about money.
It's
always about money. Always.
Stand it.
Carl KT. Yes. He said I'm with Dan. You can ban physical, and Ains, I'm gonna have to get creative and draw my special editions. If you've ever played Drawful with me, no one's gonna buy them. Nobody.
No, so. This is true.
All right, so speaking of delays and cancellations, right? So what?
Nothing. Go ahead.
All right, so we, E3's canceled, obviously, and we got the first news this week of kind of things that are going to happen. So the weird thing is Bethesda came out, Pete Hines, who I actually ran into on the street last year at E3 and got a picture with him. But Pete Hines announced that Bethesda is not going to host a digital event in June to kind of recreate or replicate what they normally do from a press conference side at E3. So this is kind of strange to me. Bethesda is one of, if you go to E3 and do the conferences, it's one of probably the top 4 or 5 press conferences. You have obviously the main platform holders, right, with Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, but then it's really Ubisoft and Ubisoft and Bethesda are really kind of the next two from a publishing standpoint. Never mind, we were supposed to get Starfield news this year, which has been in development since the Atari was out, I think. So this was kind of hit me strangely. It's like, well, if Bethesda's not going to hold an event and they're supposed to be working on these major games, what are they doing? You guys, what do you think?
I have no idea.
Put you on the spot because I don't know either. I figured you guys had some kind of opinion.
I think they're just, here's the thing with Bethesda and their conferences. They it's like, oh man, like everybody's like, this is the best thing. And then, but you really step back and kind of look at it, it's just like, well, they showed Doom again. And then that was really it. And then
trust me, I was in like row 15 of their conference last year with a bunch of the guys you all know. And we were about 3/4 of the way through it. We were kind of looking at each other like, right. Is this it? Like, but they did show Tokyo, was it Ghostwire Tokyo?
Yep.
Which looked really cool from Tango Gameworks. I'm really excited about. So, there's things like that you would just think they'd want to show off. I don't know.
Well,
there's the Prey 2 rumored.
Prey 2. Oh man, one of my favorite games of the generation. I hope that's true.
Yeah, I was also curious about the wording they used. They want to reveal their games throughout the year. So I'm not sure if they just made a bet on being everything delayed. Yeah, maybe they just said, okay, the consoles will be delayed, everything will be delayed. There is no need to put our games now out in a digital event, and we just hold it back to be able to blow everyone out of their minds once the whole economy is back on track. Yeah, so I'm not sure here.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that's what they're thinking. And Sark, I know Sarko in chat is asking about Elder Scrolls 6 because I know how much you love Skyrim, and it's got tens of millions of people across the world do, right? But they've clearly said that Starfield is the next game from Todd Howard's team. that Elder Scrolls 6 is after that. So that's why I find it so weird that we still haven't seen Starfield. And this was going to be the year, the conference, that we were going to see it. So I don't know. Anyway, IGN came out and announced, going back to E3. So IGN, don't have to describe them, but they came out yesterday and announced Summer of Gaming event, which is going to take place in June. And it's going to take place with several major publishers, including people like 2K, Sega. They mentioned several other publishers, and they said more are coming. But it sounds like some of these companies are going to work with IGN, because when you do that, right, you can basically take the onus off yourself in terms of distribution and streaming and everything that you have to set up from a funding standpoint and technology standpoint to get that communication out. So you partner with a company like IGN, which is obviously worldwide, and you can get your message out. Get your message out to everyone you want to get it out to, while not needing really the resources to put it all together outside of the game news. So this makes a lot of sense, I think, for the publishers. Personally, I'm kind of disappointed that I'm going to have to go through IGN to watch these things. Hopefully I can just mute the commentators or something. And nothing huge against IGN. I don't really have any big problem with them, but it's just, I like seeing the conferences directly from the companies and the people that work there, right? The developers. I don't want to have to go through people like at IGN to watch that. But anyway, this is kind of, at least I think, positive news that in June, we're going to have some big gaming event from several major publishers and see a bunch of new things.
Yeah, let's see what they bring, man. We need some good news, because this is garbage.
Yeah, I'm right with you there, Ainsley. Nothing against IGN themselves. I just don't like their way of reporting on games. But on the other hand, if you watch the Phil Spencer interview, he said something like, it's a better way to advertise things in this day and age if you just give it to some influencers and let them report, other than the companies themselves market their stuff. And I think this might be also the way of how they want to handle it. Just give the IGNs and GameSpots and whatsoever some games in their hands to try them out and let them report on them.
Yeah. It's the truth, although it hurts deeply to me. But it's the truth. Like hearing like you were going to have to get our new announcements from influencers literally is like just stabbing me in the heart. Yeah. But it's the state of the world right now, right? It is what it is. So
I've said it on Boom's show. Why not release some game demos worldwide for all gamers? I mean, if you have to prepare as a company the demos anyway for a digital E3 or whatever event they have planned, why not release it publicly and let us play 30 minutes of Halo Infinite or whatever?
Oh. Yeah. Let's go. I'm ready.
That would be the way to advertise it in the year 2020.
That's a very good point. And I know, that's been a discussion before, is like, it used to be we would get more game demos when they were on disc, which doesn't even make any sense. Now you can push a game demo to your entire audience instantly, and yet we get less of them, it feels like, which, I don't know, it's kind of strange. We get like the free play days, right? But those are games that are already released and have been out. So, these guys were talking about Ubisoft as well, and we haven't heard from Ubi what they're going to do. And they had a pretty big lineup, right? So if you remember, we're talking about delays again, but their games were delayed, including Watch Dogs Legion, which I was really excited for. But they've got obviously whatever the Assassin's Creed, the Viking, whether it's called Valhalla or Ragnarok, is supposed to come in the fall, right? I know everyone's pumped for that. You've got Watch Dogs Legion, and you've got Skull and Bones, which had been kind of redone over the past year or so. So it'll be interesting to see. And they're always there at launch of new systems, right? Yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 and rumored Sam Fisher return and Prince of Persia.
Don't bring that up. We've been heartbroken for way too long on the whole Splinter Cell thing.
I know. But they tweeted something out like they are looking into ways on how to do a digital event. So I expect one from them. I just don't know whether it will be in June.
Yes. Yeah, and I hope so. And I hope, I think if you're talking third party, I would think that for me anyway, Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs are two of my top most anticipated, because outside of Cyberpunk, maybe. Dan, just wait till Cyberpunk gets delayed again.
I'm a punch somebody. I'm going to break my quarantine and just social distancing with lots of freaking window because I'll be punching people in the face. Here's the thing.
I'm lucky that all flights are canceled and I'm in Europe.
Yeah, Dan's a big guy. This is why I'm not letting him over to my house anymore.
Here's the thing. So how hard would it be, even before this whole thing happened? You come out, you say, an HR bomber, Gods and Monsters is another one that.
Yeah, Gods and Monsters.
You were like, hey, we're working on Beyond Good and Evil. Okay, how about like even a monthly or like a bi-monthly like small video vlog? I mean, we're doing this, right? Like a live stream on YouTube. It's not that hard to kind of just go, right, and develop, right?
Like, if we can do it, for God's sakes, anyone can do it.
Minimize your skills because I couldn't even have done this. But what I'm saying is, like updates, like people could use some good news, right?
Sure.
And instead of, just say, hey, this is where we're at in the development. We're not going to be releasing for probably another year or two, but this is where we're at. We'll see you next month. We'll give you a little bit more update. It might be 5 minutes. It just seems like something like that would keep people going and like keep people excited and interested in the stuff. I just don't understand why that kind of stuff seems so difficult. And you don't have to sit there and show the whole game or anything like that. You can just come out and just say, hey, this is where we're at, and just give us updates and get us excited about your product and get us excited about what's to come. But
I fully agree with you, but we just had two funny comments. First from HR, he said Anthem did that though.
That's true. That's true.
And then Carl said we need to drop you. We need to drop you, Dan, in a boardroom somewhere. I said I fully support that. We'd have to have cameras though because we need to put that out there.
See, what happened with Anthem though is that they basically is like, hey, this is where we're at. Look at this, and then they release something completely different. So just show us the right stuff and what is actually happening, and then we'll be fine.
Yeah, no, it's a good point though. I think all jokes aside, these companies are billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, right? How hard would it be to get a few developers and a game director in a room with a live stream? We see some companies do it, like Division 2 you mentioned. Right. They have a fantastic every week or 2 weeks on YouTube.
Every couple of weeks, I've seen it.
State of
Thieves does the same thing.
State of the Game, Sea of Thieves does it. The Rare team. It's not that hard, to your point. Just do it. And for God's sakes, when you announce a Last of Us delay, they said Last of Us 2 delayed, which crushed everybody. And they said, here's a couple screenshots. It's like, really? Like you could have done something better than that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. I think everyone's in agreement that this is not the end of the delays. We're going to see more. I'm just hoping, selfishly, that Cyberpunk still releases in September and that we still get Halo this year. That's it.
Yeah.
So
that's all we got to look forward to. You know what's not going to get delayed? Madden 2021. That's what's going to happen.
It's been done since December of 2020.
Yeah, those are going to be coming out like a week before they actually release. That's what's going to happen. And we're going to be like, thanks.
Madden and FIFA are already done. They're just holding them.
Finished. Yeah.
Well, here I got good news for you. Here's some good news. Well, kind of good news. It's Nintendo, so take it with a grain of salt. But no, I think this is good news, right? A rumor came out and then it was verified by a whole bunch of people. So long story short, Nintendo is remastering their most popular 3D Mario games for the Switch, including Mario 64, Sunshine, Galaxy, and 3D World. And this is in a lead up supposedly this year to their big holiday title being a new Paper Mario game. We talked before, I think several weeks ago, around how Breath of the Wild 2 was supposed to be their big holiday title, but it's not going to make it now. Shocker. So they're apparently moving forward with a Paper Mario as their big kind of new game. But, personally, if they do these right, I am overjoyed to see Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy in particular. I didn't really care for 3D World, but those three being kind of tuned up and then playable on the modern system, I think is fantastic news. Of course, I was just going to say, HR just said it, but of course they'll probably be $60 each, but it's Nintendo. What are you going to do?
Yeah, well, let's hope they release it as a collection.
Never going to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Never gonna happen.
And my second wish would be don't make it just a simple port. Put those games in the Mario Odyssey engine, and I want to see them as an actual remake, not just a port.
Well, yeah, it's not like they have to really struggle to hit a high resolution or anything. It's the Switch, man. It's like we put in 3 years of work on hitting 720p.
Yeah.
Give me your money. I mean, get the hell out of here. I mean, it can't be that hard.
It's what's going to happen. So just prepare yourself now, because that's what's going to happen.
100%.
And then it won't surprise me to see a Nintendo 64 controller. I mean, we already have the NES and SNES ones, so they'll start selling those for $50 a piece soon, I'm sure too.
And I'll buy them.
Who was it, bro? I think it was PlayStation Bro that posted yesterday that Burnout Paradise is releasing for the Switch, and it's going to be $50 or $60, and it's $4.99 on Xbox and PlayStation right now.
Oh man,
that is one of my favorite racing games of all time. But I got to put the foot down somewhere. I got to buy BioShock again. So sorry, Burnout.
Stop it. Oh, that's BioShock. I can't yell at you for that one. Man. You got to do it.
And Nintendo really has something. They make you buy the same game over and over again. I don't know how many times I bought Mario Brothers or something like that.
It's endless.
Every system.
Yeah. As we always say, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. It's just what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we did get some new game announcements this week, which was exciting, so I wanted to touch on these. So Rogue Legacy 2, I don't know about you guys. I know, Dan, this isn't up your alley. I don't know about you, Archimedes, but Rogue Legacy is one of my favorite 2D games this generation. It's absolutely fantastic. I think from like a roguelite or that type of game where you kind of explore and die and just continue to explore and build up and build up. It was one of my favorite games. Every time someone talks about Shovel Knight being a good game, I want to hit them with a shovel and just tell them to go play Rogue Legacy instead, because it's a far better game in my opinion. But Dan, I'm just going to let you sit on the sidelines here, because I'm assuming you didn't play Rogue Legacy.
I'm literally looking it up as we speak.
Yeah, I did exactly the same thing. I have never heard of it.
Oh, damn it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, but God. Any of you guys in chat want to be on so we can talk about Rogue Legacy, please?
This is like the 2D side-scrolling Meteors. This is what this stuff
I mean, I like these kind of games. I loved Shovel Knight. I loved Hollow Knight.
We're going backwards.
Games like that, yeah.
Yeah, Hollow Knight. I really liked Hollow Knight. I think that's a fantastic game. I don't know. I know millions of people love Shovel Knight. I don't know what... I've talked about it before. That game did nothing for me. And I love 2D platforming kind of adventure games, but it's strange. So, anyway.
I need to check it out.
Yeah, no, if you do like those types of games, play Rogue Legacy. And God, now you could probably get it for a handful of dollars, a couple dollars on either PS4 or Xbox. So, so what about Mortal Shell? Do you guys, Dan, we're not in your camp again from a Souls-like game, but did you guys check out the Mortal Shell trailer?
Yeah, I saw it. It was awesome looking.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Yeah. Looks absolutely amazing, yeah.
Do you play those games, Archimedes? You play the Souls games, Bloodborne?
Yeah, definitely.
Nice.
I really like these kind of challenging games. I love the Souls games. Bloodborne, definitely one of the best exclusives this gen for the PS4. Yeah.
Sorry, I was chatting back to Jordan. Yeah, Enter the Gungeon was another good one, and you can play that in co-op. But if you like roguelites, definitely check out Rogue Legacy. I'll keep promoting that game as long as I can. Yeah, Mortal Shell looks really, really good. Apparently, it's been in development, basically not in secret per se, but they really hadn't said anything about it for a few years now. So I know it's a smaller development team. I just hope it kind of lives up to that trailer, because I think it looks fantastic. And yeah, exciting. No specific games to talk about here, but ID at Xbox did release, they typically at GDC and some of the other game shows release sizzle trailers of a bunch of the indie games that are coming on the Xbox side. And they released 6 videos with 6 games each a couple days ago, which you can find on YouTube, on our site, where have you. And pretty interesting here. In fact, some of the games, West of Dead, is a really kind of cool looking game that you can actually play the demo on Xbox right now if you haven't checked that out. And then there's a couple other games like Undying that were shown at E3 last year that were in those sizzle trailers. So if you didn't see those and you like indie games or small titles, a bunch of them come into Game Pass. Definitely check that out as well. In fact, I was going to say, I've got an Undying pin right here. I talked to the developer of it last year. It's a pretty cool looking game. So,
they should do that more often, to be honest. These kind of sizzle trailers, I love them, and they really help these little indie titles out, because otherwise it's hard to discover them. And in the ID at Xbox program, you have hundreds of games releasing, and they should really highlight some of them.
Agree 100%. In fact, they've made the habit Xbox has of the past couple of years during E3 to have that kind of idea at Xbox sizzle reel for 3 or 4 minutes, showing a bunch of the small games coming. And that's one of my favorite parts of their press conference at E3, because a lot of those games, you can get anywhere from 5 to 15 to even 20 hours if they're a little longer out of, and they're really enjoyable games. So,
Definitely.
yeah. No, your point about discoverability, I think, is a whole nother topic we could dive into. But just being able to discover the games that are out there is a challenge nowadays. I know it's something that Steam faces. It's a big obstacle for Steam. So, all right, we got the BAFTA awards this week too. Nothing too notable to call out here. I figured I'd just mention it because it's pretty kind of considered a prestigious, award event in the gaming industry. So I'll call these out, and then we can just kind of talk about them. But the ones that really stood out were Disco Elysium, which I've talked about before. I started playing. Dan, I know you started playing it. I need to go back to it. I left it, but it got Best Debut Game. It also won Best Music and Best Narrative. So 3 awards for Disco Elysium. Best Multiplayer was given to Apex Legends. Okay. Best Evolving Game, Path of Exile. I will definitely agree with that and give a shout out to Path of Exile. Those guys at Grinding Gear Games are fantastic. Path of Exile is incredible. If you like ARPGs and you haven't played Path of Exile, freaking go play it. And then Best Overall Game, we can talk about this one. Best Overall Game, Best Game Design, Best Original Property, all to Outer Wilds. Not Outer Worlds, like I thought when I first looked at it. Outer Wilds. So what do you guys, I'll start with you, Archimedes. Anything here? Did you play Disco Elysium? Did you play Outer Wilds? Any of those?
I played Outer Wilds. I didn't play Disco Elysium.
Okay.
Well, Outer Wilds, good game, but I don't get the hype around it.
Okay, good.
Outer Worlds, I would have understood.
Yeah, neither do we. We've talked about it before. It's won other awards throughout the year. It won some game awards as well back in December, and I played it for a little while, and I just don't get it. It's not one of those games that syncs up with me. Dan, I know you're pretty much in the same camp.
No, it sucks. I played 5 minutes.
You're a little less politically correct about it.
No, I can care less. There's these games just like movies that come out, and like these people, they review them and they play them. They're just like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Come over here and be cool with me because I like this thing that's so weird. Shut up. I don't even want to hear about it anymore. There were so many better games that were actually probably designed better. I can probably name 20 of them from last year. That game drove me nuts. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you start off and you're playing it and you got to control this little, I don't know what it is, remote control lunar lander. I don't know what. It sucked. I mean, it was so hard to control. I was like, this is ridiculous, man. I don't get the hype behind that one. I understand Disco Elysium, which,
yeah, it's fantastic.
As much as I played of it, it was awesome.
Yeah.
But I kind of skimmed through the back. It's fine. It's just another award show,
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that's out there. And I agree with Outer Wilds. I couldn't get into it. So HR asked about last night, and funny enough, it's funny you mentioned that because I interacted with Tim Soray this week. Someone asked me about it on Twitter, and I said it's still in development. They actually overhauled the graphics engine in the game last year, and then they ran into some development issues as well from a funding perspective because they're a real small studio. I think they're like 10 or 12 people. So Tim did confirm that still in development, still coming. They did release some updated clips, if you haven't seen those, of what it looked like when they first debuted it on the Xbox stage versus what it looks like now, and it looks just absolutely incredible. So, it's out there. It's coming. I just, it's one of those games that'll come when it comes, right? We don't really know. Dan, it's funny you bring that up, though, because I mentioned it to Dan earlier this week. He's like, who? What? He had no idea what we were talking about.
I have no idea. I mean, I remember the game. From it was like 2 years ago at E3, I think. When
believe it or not, 2017, I think.
Yeah. I remember that one. I was like, oh, that looks actually kind of cool. I didn't know who the hell was doing it, but yeah, I'm still waiting on Tunic. So
Tunic, I told you before, Tunic is literally one guy making that game, so it could be a while. Although he's home, you figure he's probably at home.
Right, yeah,
so.
Call me, dude. I mean, I don't know anything about anything, but I'll try it out for you.
Try it out for you. And Jordan said, Outer Wilds is so good, I don't know how you guys didn't care for it. I'm sorry.
I also hated Oxenfree. Everybody knows that. So
yeah. Don't get Dan started on Oxenfree. We're going to move on right away.
You should.
Current games. So let's talk about current games and what we're playing. So Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered came out this week. Obviously, Resident Evil 3 Remake just came out yesterday officially. I know tons of people are playing that. And the Xbox Spring Sale went live too. So I know a lot of people were picking up games that, had already been released at decent deals. So I'm going to let you guys talk here because I've only really been playing one game. But Archimedes, let's start with you, man. What have you been up to?
Well, I just finished Doom Eternal, and now I started something out of my backlog. I started Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Nice, I love that game.
Yeah,
love that
fantastic game. I don't know why I've been waiting so long to start this one, and I also started Batman Arkham Knight again.
Okay.
And as you mentioned, the spring sale went up. I bought Call of Duty World War II. Yeah, I want to play the campaign. I'm not a big Call of Duty multiplayer guy, but I like the campaigns. But usually, I don't want to pay $60 for just the 5 to 6 hour campaign, and so I picked that one up. And I'm still on the fence with Resident Evil 3. I don't know. I like the demo. It's getting mixed reviews. I like the demo, but I'm not sure if I'm in the mood right now for such a scary game.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, and it shouldn't be surprising, yet I guess people forget, but Resident Evil 3 is not, it's not nearly as long as Resident Evil 2. I think, Capcom kind of built off of the hype of last year and how well Resident Evil 2 Remake did to release 3. 3 is a much, much shorter game. It's one of the Resident Evils I don't really care for, which is why I haven't picked it up. And Dan, we know you're not picking that one up, but like I mentioned earlier, if you weren't here at the very start of the show, Archimedes did a video review of Doom Eternal, so definitely check that out too, because I know you really enjoyed it as well, and I've been playing it, and then I just got away from it. I haven't played it this week at all. I finished Ori, and I need to go back to it. But Dan, what are you up to?
Basically the same stuff. Ghost Recon, Breakpoint.
Did you finish all the Splinter Cell stuff?
Yes, it is very, very good.
Okay.
Much better than the first one. Now, after you finish it, you actually get the Sam Fisher skin, so I can just run around and pretend like I'm playing a Splinter Cell game. And if you can it's almost to the point now where I'm kind of role playing that. So I'm playing with our buddy, not your buddy, but my buddy Greg, and it's like, I don't know, it's like playing with like Steve Carell's character from like Dinner for Schmucks, and then like a really serious, stealth dude. And so I'm like, okay, we got to be quiet. You know what I mean? And like, you got to be quiet. You got to sneak into this place. We want to not alert these people. He's like, well, I want to try the sniper rifle. I'm like, great. Let's see if you can handle it. Literally, the first thing he does is shoot, miss. The entire base gets alerted, and then we die.
That's accurate.
Yeah, that's basically what I was expecting. So I shouldn't be super disappointed, but I was.
We need to make a video series of this. For those of you listening, really Dan's got a local friend he plays with here who is, would you call him the worst gamer of all time?
Yes, except for driving games. The guy's like a savant.
Idiot savant.
Yeah, he is. You get into like Forza or like Project Cars or something, and the guy is insane good. Right? It's just, but he doesn't even translate over to like other games where like you drive a vehicle. It has to be like a racing game. He's amazing. I will give him 100% props. He's probably got so many hours logged into Forza Horizon 4, but and good for him. But anything else, no, not so much.
So nothing, not playing anything new.
No, well, you know what? Here's another small thing. I played MLB quite a bit, and then yesterday on the begging from my kids, I bought Animal Crossing. Now, I haven't played it yet. I've got it. I probably will try it and see what all the hype is about. And part of me is like, there's zero chance I'm going to like this. But another part of me is like, if I get sucked in, great for quarantine stuff. I'm just looking out my window. I'm pretty sure this lady just hit my car with her dog. What the hell?
Hit your car with her dog?
She ran into my car. Like her dog's got like some kind of, I don't know if it doesn't have any back legs or something, but it has some wheels on it. It looks like God,
moving on.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna try it out and see how it's like. See what it's like. Sorry, I got distracted.
No, it's a we always say that neither of us can speak to Animal Crossing because it's not our thing. So if you get into it, that's good. Yeah, Matt, I agree with you, man. I finished Resident Evil 3, when it first came out. No desire at all to go back to it. And like Dizzy pointed out as well, it was originally kind of part of Resident Evil 2. It was a continuation, and it kind of got cut up, and they made it its own game. Excuse me. So anyway, I've just been playing World of Tanks, man. I'm addicted. I can't get off of the tank game. I got addicted years and years ago. I got an email. I started playing that game in 2013. So that's how far I go back with it. It's now 10 years old. I've been playing it for 7 years. But, I'm just logging in every day and playing tanks. And it's so easy to do because I'm working from home. And I'm sitting here and I've got my, work computer and my normal computer. And I just find myself kind of reaching over and starting to play tanks again. So, all right. So because I was clearing weeds, catching fish. Sarko, I cannot picture you playing Animal Crossing and being addicted to that. You got to do it in like full deployment gear and take a picture of yourself. Hold full deployment gear, holding a Switch, playing Animal Crossing. I think that would be great. All right. So I think that's going to about cover us for the week, guys. We just crossed an hour. I've got to go play some tanks here in a little bit.
Yeah. I gotta check my car.
Yeah, go check your car. Make sure the dog didn't, damage it. I know HR mentioned Warzone. I think a bunch of us are still playing Call of Duty Warzone as well. So if you're a Call of Duty guy, it's still a blast. Still playing that every couple of nights as well. So anyway, guys, Archimedes, man, absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining. It's been a lot of fun. It seems like this live show kind of went off without a hitch. I hope. Where can we find you?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We'll have you back, of course, in the future. So where can we find you? What are you up to? Anything you want listeners to know?
Yeah, well, you can find me on Twitter and YouTube, my channel at Boxenberger. I'm trying to put out at least one video a week on my YouTube channel, and on my Twitter I'm always discussing the latest in gaming and share a lot of screenshots from the games I'm playing. I've heard that a lot, that people call me the screenshot guy. So if you want to see what I'm playing, just follow me on Twitter. Yeah, and I would be happy to return here on this show. I had a blast. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Dan, what do you got?
I'm self-quarantining. Quarantining? Yeah. It sucks, man. It sucks.
It is weird. It's a weird time in the world for all of us.
I still go out every once in a while and just drive around, get some fresh air.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many people walking in my life.
Yeah, no, it's true. People are walking their dogs and just kind of, just getting out and walking about.
It's insane, but it's good. I mean, get out, enjoy some fresh air, get some vitamin D. Whatever you gotta do.
That was a shot at me, wasn't it?
No. All right. I don't even know what the hell to tell you.
So next week is episode 100. So we're gonna have some different topics. I think Bert's gonna rejoin us. KD's gonna join us, and we'll let you know when that's gonna be. We haven't nailed down the time yet, but it will be a live show again. So if you guys can stop by, it would be greatly appreciated. Of course, I think we may do a giveaway as well. Yeah. Well, it should be a lot of fun. So it's hard to believe we're at 100 episodes. It's kind of crazy, especially considering we originally only did these every 2 weeks, not every week. So it creeps up on you. And then I've been talking about this for a while, but I've been writing this damn long Xbox article, and I kind of got off it for a bit, but I got back to it yesterday, and it will promise I'm going to put this out there to definitely be out this week. So it's really just a look at Xbox going into next gen and talking about all the aspects, some of which we covered earlier. But it should be a lot of fun. So look for that on the site this week too. Anyway, that was episode 99, guys. Thanks. Really, really appreciate you guys stopping by for the live show. And we will see you next week.